Day 2, common sense. If you actually just go to the internet and look up common sense, one of the things you're going to see is it is a pamphlet that was written by Thomas Paine during the Revolutionary War. During the Revolutionary War, there really were three groups of people. One group was pro-King, pro-Britain. They did not want to fight Great Britain. They wanted to keep the status quo. And a lot of these were the richer people and the traders and so forth, and they wanted to keep the relationship they had with Great Britain. The second group, they wanted freedom. They wanted to be independent. And then there was a third group. And obviously this was probably the largest of the three groups. And they were undecided. They were not sure which was the best way to go. To be a Tory and to stick with Great Britain or to be a patriot. They just weren't sure about it. So George Washington had Thomas Paine write a pamphlet to put in common sense why they were fighting the war. And if you read it, it's really written for people like me. It's written, as Zig used to say, 7th grade, 3rd month. So there's not anybody that couldn't understand what Thomas Paine wrote. When you write something at the 7th grade, 3rd month level, almost everyone can understand and read that. And Paine made 3 major points. And the first point that he made, no person is better than another person because of who they're born to, which eliminates the heirs of kings. King George is the guy that ruled Great Britain, and by way of discovery, the United States. So here was a guy that made all the decisions. And what had he done in his life to give him that right? He was born to a king and queen. And he had no past performances. He had done nothing in his life. It was simply being born. And Paine talked about how ignorant that would be for people to think about that somebody, because they're born to somebody else, is going to be great. And of course he used the Bible and showed how many really bad kings there were. The second thing that Paine showed is that no government should tax people on another continent without allowing them to represent themselves. You've got Parliament in Great Britain and the King, and they are taxing the tea in the colonies. They are taxing stamps in the colony. They are taxing everything in the colony, and they're taxing these people in order to pay for the war they had with France. So you're living in the continental United States, you're living in Massachusetts, and you're paying for Great Britain to have war with France. And you don't have any say in it. Somebody in another country is determining what taxes you're going to pay. There's no common sense in that. That's ridiculous. The third thing that Paine showed was that there's no island that should ever rule a continent. The United States is 20 times larger than Great Britain. Great Britain is the size of Rhode Island, Vermont, Massachusetts, what we call the northeastern states. That's it. And Paine talked about if you live on an island, you don't have any idea what needs to be done on a continent. The continent needs to rule itself because it has its own problems. Great Britain cannot know, being on an island, what the problems of the United States are. Those three facts he makes in his pamphlet, Common Sense. George Washington would say later that that pamphlet probably won the war. How? All of those undecided people, they read the pamphlet. It was printed in every paper in the country. There were millions of copies. In today's time, every other person would have a copy of this. Can you imagine that? That would be 150 million copies today. All the people, whether they were on the frontier, in California, East Coast, everybody had a copy of Common Sense. And that gave them the why to fight the war. In the preamble to the Common Sense, George Washington had this read to the troops before they got on the boats to go to Trenton, cross the Delaware, go to Trenton, and fight the Hessians on Christmas Day. Now, until this time, George Washington had not won a battle. And he's going to sneak up on the Hessians in freezing cold, cross the Delaware, very dangerous, in boats, and go up there. And before they go, when they leave Valley Forge, this is what he has read to them. And I'm going to read it because I can't do it justice. These are the times that try men's souls. They're fixing to get on boats and go across the Delaware. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in this crisis shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. And yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods, and it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated. Think that was a good pep talk? That was the turning of the war, when they went to Trenton and defeated the Germans, the Hessians, the paid mercenaries. We're a free country a great deal because common sense. The people heard common sense, believed it, and used it. And that made them the best people they could be, and it's the same thing with you. Think of common sense and develop it, and you'll be the best you that you can be.